Hi everybody, today we're going to talk about lesson 59, area of a rectangle. Now we have already talked about perimeter and the fact that perimeter is the area or the measure around an object of the outside. So to find the perimeter of this rectangle, I would add 25 plus 25 for this side, plus 30 for the top, and 30 for the bottom. Okay, and I would add that up, and that would get me the perimeter, or the area around. Today, we're going to be talking about area. And area is the amount of space, the amount of flat space something takes up. For example, we measure the size of houses in area. We measure the size of a room in area. And what we are measuring is we are measuring all of this. Not just the outside, but we are measuring how much space something takes up. Okay, think of an area rug. If you have a rug at home, not a carpet that goes the whole house, but just a rug, okay? We call it an area rug because it takes up a certain amount of area on the floor. So if you kind of think of, here's your floor and here's your area rug, okay? The amount of space that this takes up. So how do we find area? Okay? The formula for area, it's a little bit bigger. Area equals length times width. We shorten it to L times W, or even just LW, because when you have two letters next to each other, you know you're going to multiply. So using this formula, let's figure out how we solve example 1. A classroom floor was the shape of a rectangle and was covered with 1-foot square tiles. The room was 30 tiles long and 25 tiles wide. What was the area of the floor? So to solve this, area equals length times width. Length equals 30. Width equals 25. And you do need to write this for your problems. I need to know what each variable, that's what the letters are called, equal before I plug them into my formula. So now I can go back. 30 times 25, and then I can solve it. Okay, because I'm multiplying by a 30, I'm going to put it on the bottom. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. Bring down my 0. And equals 750. Okay, now 750 what? Because you know I'm always hurrying you about your units. So we are measuring tiles. So we have 750 tiles. But because I'm measuring area, we say that we have squared tiles. Okay? So whenever we're measuring area, we always put this 2 up here. Okay? It's called an exponent. We're squaring the area. Okay? If I was to write this in words, move this. Okay, if I was to write this in words, I would say I have 750 square tiles. And I would say that because if I take my rectangle and let's say I divide it into those 30 squares this way and 25 squares this way, okay, I am making actual squares. I'm counting the number of square units that it takes to cover my floor, which is why we square it, so it shows area. Okay? If you don't put this 2 here, you just say 750 tiles, I'm going to think that that's either in a row or the perimeter. So this little 2 right here is very important. All right, let's go on to example 2. Okay, how many square inches are needed to cover the area of this rectangle? So it doesn't look like they finished the rectangle, so let me go ahead and finish that for us. Close enough. Okay, so this rectangle is 2 inches long and 2 inches wide and 2 inches long. So how many square inches are needed? Well, let's say I'm going to divide this into 1-inch sections. Okay, I'm going to cut it in half, so I have 1 inch here and 2 inches here. And then I'm going to cut it in thirds this way. So I have 1, 2, 3 inches going this way. So now I can actually count them. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so my area would equal 6 square inches, or 6 inches squared. Make sure this 2 is up here in the air. It is not down here on the floor or next to the inches, because that can mean something different. So if I have a number big enough that I can't count, I'm simply going to multiply. Area equals length times width. Length equals 2 inches. Width equals 3 inches. Area equals 3. Let me do this in the right order. Equals 2 times 3 equals 6 inches squared. Make sure that you put those units on the end. Okay, so we've counted it and we have multiplied it using the formula. All right, let's look at example 3. Use a formula to estimate the area of a room that is 14 feet 3 inches long and 12 feet 8 inches wide. All right, well, let's draw a rectangle. Whoop, let's try that again. Okay, and we know that it is 14 feet 3 inches wide and 12 feet 8 inches wide. So I'm going to round these, and I'm going to go ahead and round it right here. I'm going to round this down because there are 12 inches in a foot, so 3 is less than half. I'm going to round this to 14 feet. And I'm going to round this up because 8 is greater than half of 12 to 13 feet. So using my formula, area equals length times width. Length equals 14 feet. Width equals 13 feet. So area equals 14 times 13. I'm going to go over here to solve it. 3 times 4 is 12. 4, 0, 1 times 4 is 4, 1 times 1 is 1. Okay, so my area equals 182 feet squared. Okay, so I estimated to the nearest foot and then I multiplied. All right, one more example. Okay, example 4. This has 2 parts, so we're going to do it in 2 parts. So, part A. Keisha has a display case for a model car. Here it is. The case is 30 centimeters long, 14 centimeters high, and 10 centimeters wide. A. Keisha wants to paint the ends of the case. Choose a formula and use it to determine the surface area of the case Keisha wants to paint. So remember, I have formulas for area and I have a formula for perimeter. So Keisha wants to paint this end right here and this end over here. So because she wants to paint the whole area and not just the outside edge, we're going to choose the area. So for problem A, we're going to choose area equals length times width. Okay, and I see that my length is 10 centimeters. And my width, or in this case it's my height, but because we're looking at this edge, that's fine, equals 14 centimeters. So area equals 10 times 14. 10 times 14 is 140 centimeters squared. Now, actually, I don't want to box this because this is the end of one, or the area of one end. However, she wants to paint both ends. So now that I have the area of one end, now I need to multiply it by 2. 140 times 2. So the total area equals 280 centimeters squared. Okay, because I need to find the area of this end over here and this end over here. So I'm going to multiply the area of one together. All right, last example, part B. Keisha also wants to glue a ribbon border around the top of the case. Okay, she wants to glue a pretty ribbon all the way around this way. The ribbon is purchased in millimeters. Choose a formula and use it to determine the least length of ribbon she will need. So first we need to decide if we're going to find area or perimeter. Since she's going to glue it around the top and not cover the entire sides, we're looking for perimeter. So perimeter equals 2 times the length plus 2 times the width, because you have to do this width and this, or this length and the 2 widths. So my length equals 30 centimeters. My width equals 10 centimeters. Oh, that's a 10. Okay, so I'm going to plug it into my formula. 2 times the length, which is 30. I put parentheses to show that I'm multiplying, plus 2 times 10, the width. 2 times 30 is 60, plus 2 times 20, which is 20. 60 plus 20 is 80. However, this is centimeters. The problem says the ribbon is purchased in millimeters, so we need to convert it from centimeters to millimeters. I know that 1 centimeter equals 10 millimeters. So in order to convert 80 centimeters, I now need to multiply this by 10. So let me move this over. Okay, 1 times 0 is 0, 1 times 8 is 8, 0. So I need 800 millimeters of ribbon.